Jack Harlow stood at the viewport of Nexus 7 station, watching the stars. His Marine uniform felt tight across his shoulders after the long journey from Earth. 6 combat tours in the Outer Rim had left scars both visible and hidden. Now they wanted him to play diplomat. "Staff Sergeant, the reception begins in 30 minutes, said the station aide, not meeting his eyes. Jack nodded. He knew why he was really here. The brass needed a military presence that wouldn't back down to the conclave species. Humans were the newcomers in galactic politics, and everyone made sure they knew it. The reception hall gleamed with polished metal and floating light orbs. Representatives from 12 species mingled, their voices a strange mix of sounds. Jack noticed how they all kept distance from the human delegation. Ambassador Chon approached him, speaking quietly. "Remember, Sergeant, observation only. The Krell representatives are particularly hostile today." Jack spotted them immediately. The Krell stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scaled skin and eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. Their ambassador, Vexter, dominated the center of the room. Humans lacked the genetic refinement to understand true civilization. Vexter was saying loudly. They still fight among themselves over resources. Like children, the human diplomat smiled stiffly, taking the insult. Jack felt his jaw tighten, but remained still. An hour into the reception, Jack was approached by Vexter's personal enforcer, Draz. The alien warrior moved with surprising grace for his size. "So this is what Earth sends? A soldier?" Draz said, his translator making the words sound flat. "I studied your military history. Primitive tactics. Wasteful. We get the job done," Jack replied. Draz leaned closer. "Your species will be contained. It is inevitable. The Conclave has eliminated threats before. Is that a threat?" Jack asked, keeping his voice level. "A prediction. Your Earth has no concept of what real war looks like." Draz's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Perhaps a demonstration is needed. Several diplomats had stopped to watch the exchange. Jack knew he should walk away, but something in the enforcer's tone held him in place. "We're not looking for trouble," Jack said. "Yet you bring weapons to a diplomatic station." Draz gestured to the sidearm at Jack's hip. Typical human paranoia. Standard security protocol? Draz moved suddenly, his massive hand shoving Jack's shoulder. "Your protocols mean nothing here." The room grew quiet. Jack held his ground. "Back off," Jack warned. The enforcer's next move was quick. His armored fist struck Jack across the face, drawing blood from his lip. The sound echoed through the silent hall. 1 second passed. Jack tasted copper in his mouth. 2 seconds. He saw Ambassador Chun's horrified expression. 3 seconds. Something shifted in Jack's mind. His body moved with precision, honed through years of combat. A strike to the enforcer's throat. A sweep of the legs. A precise blow to the nerve cluster beneath the alien's jaw. Draz crashed to the floor. 8 feet of armored enforcer, taken down by a human half his size. Station alarms blared. Security personnel rushed forward. Jack stood over the fallen enforcer, blood dripping from his chin. Across the room, Ambassador Vexter stared at Jack with an expression that wasn't anger, but something worse. Fear. "You have no idea what you've just done," Vexter said, his voice barely audible over the alarms. Jack wiped the blood from his lip. "Maybe it's time someone showed you what humans are really capable of." The security team surrounded him, weapons drawn. But Jack noticed how they kept their distance, eyes darting between him and the unconscious enforcer on the floor. In 3 seconds, everything had changed. The brig cell was cold. Jack sat on the metal bench, his wrists bound by energy restraints that hummed with blue light. 6 hours had passed since the incident. 6 hours of silence. The door slid open with a hiss. Admiral Frank Donovan walked in, his face grim. "You've created quite the situation, Sergeant," Donovan said. Jack looked up. He struck first. Doesn't matter. The Conclave doesn't play by our rules. Donovan handed Jack a tablet. They're demanding your execution for assaulting a diplomatic enforcer. The screen showed footage from Earth. Massive Conclave warships, hovering over major cities. A show of force. What's happening? Jack asked. The ultimatum came an hour ago. Either we hand you over, or they begin what they call containment protocols. Donovan took back the tablet. But that's not why I'm here. He lowered his voice. We've suspected for years that the Conclave has been eliminating species they deem unpredictable. Entire civilizations wiped out, labeled as casualties of natural disasters or internal conflicts. Jack's restraints felt heavier. And humans qualify as unpredictable. Extremely. We're the wild card they can't control. Donovan checked his watch. You have 20 minutes before they come to transfer you to their ship. The lights flickered. An explosion rocked the station. What was that? Jack stood up. Donovan smiled thinly. That would be your extraction. The door burst open. Lieutenant Allison Reed stood in the doorway, weapon raised. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, her face focused. We need to move now, she said, shooting the control panel for Jack's restraints. The energy cuffs died. Jack rubbed his wrists. Reed, I thought you were stationed on Mars. Special assignment. She tossed him a weapon. The Conclave just launched attacks on 3 human colonies. This isn't diplomacy anymore. It's war. They moved through the corridors, alarms blaring. Station security was in chaos. The Admiral? Jack asked as they ran. Providing cover. There's an escape pod on level 4. Allison checked corners as they moved. We have 5 minutes before this section locks down. They reached the pod bay. Allison punched in codes while Jack secured the door. Where are we headed? Jack asked. Mining colony on Ceres. It's the closest human outpost with military presence. The pod door opened. We have something they want, Jack. Something they're afraid of. Once inside, Allison pulled a data chip from her pocket. I was part of a covert team investigating Conclave research facilities. We found this 3 weeks ago. The pod launched, breaking away from the station. Through the viewport, Jack saw Conclave warships appearing from hyperspace near Earth. Allison activated the chip. Holographic images showed laboratories with human test subjects. Biological weapons designed specifically for human DNA. They've been planning this for years, she said. The incident with Draz just accelerated their timeline. Jack stared at the images. Why didn't we know? Some did. Not everyone wanted to believe it. Allison's face hardened. The Conclave has infiltrated our government. We don't know who to trust. The pod's communication system crackled. Attention, human vessel. Return to Nexus 7 or be destroyed. Allison ignored it, setting course for Ceres. We'll reach the mining colony in 6 hours. The Resistance has a cell there. The pod shuddered as something hit them. Warning lights flashed. They're firing warning shots, Jack said. Allison checked the sensors. No, something's wrong. Ceres isn't responding to our signals. The mining colony came into view. No lights, no movement, no signs of life. They landed in eerie silence. Jack drew his weapon as the pod door opened. The colony was a massacre. Bodies lay everywhere. Men, women, workers frozen in their final moments. Jack knelt beside a man clutching a blood-stained tablet. The screen still glowed with a single message. They knew you were coming. 3 weeks after the Ceres massacre, Perth burned. Jack watched the satellite feed from an underground bunker. Conclave ships hovered over major cities, their weapons cutting through buildings like paper. 7th Fleet is gone, Allison said, entering the room. Her face was thinner now, eyes hollow from lack of sleep. London and Beijing are under full blockade. Jack turned away from the screen. They had found this resistance cell by following emergency protocols buried in Marine training. The bunker sat beneath the ruins of an old military base in the Rocky Mountains. Any word from Admiral Donovan? Jack asked. Allison's expression hardened. Nothing since the initial attacks. Dr. Victor Reyes approached them, carrying a tablet. The scientist's hands shook slightly. I've analyzed the data from the Conclave bioweapon, he said. It's worse than we thought. They've been studying humans for decades. He showed them brain scans. Every species in the galaxy has neural patterns that make them susceptible to Conclave control technology. Except humans. Jack studied the images. That's why they want us gone. It's more than that, Reyes continued. Your brain activity after the fight with Draz showed something unusual. Patterns that match ancient records of a species called the Forerunners. Allison leaned forward. The Conclave myths? I thought they were legends. Not myths, Reyes said. The only species to ever defeat the Conclave in war. They disappeared thousands of years ago. The bunker shook as something exploded above ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. They found us, Jack said, grabbing his weapon. Allison checked the security feed. No, it's a standard bombing run. They don't know we're here. Reyes pointed to a schematic on his tablet. We've identified the Conclave command vessel. It's coordinating the Earth attacks from orbit. And? Jack asked. And we have a plan to get you aboard, Allison said. We captured Conclave Enforcer armor during a raid last week. Jack understood immediately. Infiltration. The ship will be heavily guarded, Reyes warned. I'll go with Jack, Allison said. 2 enforcers are less suspicious than 1. The plan moved quickly. Within hours, they were aboard a stolen Conclave shuttle, approaching the massive command vessel. Jack felt strange in the oversized Enforcer armor. Its systems adjusted to fit human physiology. Remember, minimal communication, Allison said through their private channel. Their language implants will only get us so far. They docked without incident. The command vessel was enormous, its corridors filled with various Conclave species. None questioned 2 enforcers moving with purpose. They reached the central data hub. Allison worked quickly, bypassing security while Jack stood guard. I'm in, she said, downloading their attack plans, and she stopped suddenly. Jack, I found something about Admiral Donovan. Jack moved to her side. The screen showed Donovan meeting with Vexter, handing over data chips. He gave them Earth's defense codes, Allison whispered. That's how they broke through so easily. An alarm blared. They had been discovered. We need to move, Jack said. Not yet. Allison continued downloading. There's something else here. About why they're really targeting humans. The door to the data hub slid open. Conclave security forces poured in. Go. Allison shoved a data chip into Jack's hand. Get this back to Reyes, Jack hesitated. I'm not leaving you. Allison fired at the security forces. The data shows humans carry Forerunner genetic markers. That's why they fear us. Now go. Jack fought his way to the emergency pods, the data chip secure. Behind him, explosions rocked the ship. Allison had triggered the self-destruct sequence. The escape pod launched just as flames engulfed the section he'd left. Jack watched the command vessel breaking apart, knowing Allison was still aboard. His comm unit crackled with static, then cleared. This is Captain Allison Reed of the UE's Defiance, came her voice, impossibly alive. The real war starts now. Through the viewport, a massive human warship decloaked, weapons firing at the Conclave fleet. 6 months of war changed Jack. He led his strike team through the corridors of the Conclave outpost, their boots silent on the metal floor. The enhanced combat armor felt like a second skin now. Security hub ahead, Jack whispered into his comm. Martinez, take point. Sergeant Martinez moved forward, his weapon ready. The team had hit 5 Conclave bases in the past month. This one was different. Intelligence suggested it held something valuable. The U's Defiance had changed everything. Captain Reed's secret ship, built in the shadows by scientists who saw the war coming, carried weapons reverse-engineered from Conclave technology. It gave humanity a fighting chance. Jack felt the familiar burn in his veins. The combat enhancements Dr. Reyes had developed made him stronger, faster. They also made him angry. All the time. "Clear," Martinez reported. They entered the security hub. Jack plugged in the decryption device Reyes had provided. The Conclave systems surrendered their secrets. "Got it," Jack said. "Lower level. Some kind of research facility." They moved deeper into the base. Jack felt sweat on his forehead, despite the suit's cooling system. The enhancements were overheating again. "You okay, boss?" asked Wilson, the team medic. Jack nodded. "Fine. Stay focused." The lower-level doors required special clearance. Jack placed an explosive charge on the lock. The door blew inward. What they found inside stopped them cold. Thousands of transparent pods lined the walls, stretching into the distance. Each contained a human body, suspended in clear fluid, tubes and wires connected to monitoring equipment. "What the hell is this?" Martinez whispered. Jack approached the nearest pod. A woman floated inside, eyes closed. Alive, but unconscious. "They're harvesting us," Wilson said, checking the equipment. Taking blood, tissue samples, bone marrow. Jack's enhanced vision caught movement. Contact. Conclave security forces poured in from side entrances. The team took cover behind the pods. "Don't hit the civilians," Jack ordered as he returned fire. The battle was short but brutal. Jack's team had the advantage of surprise and human unpredictability. When it ended, the Conclave forces lay dead. "Package the data," Jack ordered. "We're taking it back to the Defiance." A voice came from behind them. "I wouldn't do that." They turned, weapons raised. A human man in Conclave robes stood there, hands raised. "Dr. Reyes sent me," the man said quickly. "I'm his contact inside the Conclave. Name's Cooper." Jack didn't lower his weapon. "Prove it. The Forerunner connection." "That's why I'm here." Cooper gestured to the pods. "They're not just harvesting humans. They're looking for specific genetic markers." Jack remembered the data Allison had found. "The Forerunner DNA." Cooper nodded. "And you, Sergeant Harlow, have the highest concentration they've ever seen." The team secured the facility while Cooper downloaded research data. Jack stared at the pods, at the faces of people taken from Earth colonies. "Can we free them?" he asked. Cooper shook his head. "Not without killing them. The process is delicate. We need to bring in medical teams." Jack's tongue crackled. "Sergeant, this is Defiance." Massive Conclave fleet just jumped in system. Captain Reed is engaging. Through the facility's viewport, Jack saw flashes of light as ships battled in orbit. The Defiance was outnumbered. "We need to move," Jack said. "Now." They fought their way to the landing bay. Their shuttle took off as Conclave reinforcements flooded the facility. In orbit, the battle raged. The Defiance fired its main cannon, cutting through a Conclave cruiser. "All teams, this is Captain Reed. We've identified Vexter's flagship. Preparing to board." Jack felt something change inside him. The enhancements burned hotter than ever. "Captain, this is Harlow. My team is coming aboard." "Vexter is mine." The shuttle docked with the Defiance as it maneuvered toward the massive Conclave flagship. Jack stepped onto the bridge where Allison Reed waited. "You look terrible, Jack," she said. "The enhancements are getting worse." Allison nodded. "Ray has warned us. But we need them for what comes next." The Defiance shuddered as it took fire. On the main screen, Vexter's flagship grew larger. "He's waiting for you," Allison said. "He knows what you are." Jack checked his weapon. "What am I?" The beginning of something the Conclave has feared for millennia. As boarding teams prepared, Jack felt a sudden, searing pain in his head. He collapsed to his knees, vision blurring. Something was awakening inside him. Something ancient and powerful. Jack opened his eyes to a changed world. The bridge of the Defiance seemed sharper, clearer. He could feel the ship's systems humming around him, could sense the crew's heartbeats. "Jack?" Allison knelt beside him. "Your eyes ... double quotes?" He stood, steadier than he'd ever felt. "I'm fine. Better than fine." "They're glowing," she whispered. The ship rocked from enemy fire. Jack turned to the tactical display and somehow knew exactly where the Conclave ships would move next. "Adjust course to heading 227 Mark IV, he said. "Their flagship has a weakness in its port shield array." Allison stared at him and nodded to her tactical officer. "Do it." The Defiance moved with precision, slipping through the Conclave formation. On the main screen, Earth's colonies burned. New York, Mars base, the lunar settlements, millions dead. "Boarding teams ready," Martinez reported. Jack felt the weight of his weapon, but knew he wouldn't need it. "I'm going alone." "That's suicide," Allison argued. Jack touched the wall, and the metal seemed to respond to him. "Trust me." The boarding tube connected with Vexther's flagship. Jack walked through alone, his mind reaching ahead, sensing the ship's layout and the positions of enemies. Conclave soldiers appeared in the corridor. Jack raised his hand. With a thought, their weapons jammed. With another, they were thrown against the walls, unconscious. He moved through the ship like a ghost. His mind connected to the ship's systems, shutting down security, opening doors. He understood now what Cooper had meant. The Forerunner DNA wasn't just a marker. It was a key. Vexther waited in the command chamber, surrounded by guards. "The human awakens," the Krell ambassador said. Just as the prophecy warned, Jack entered the room. The guards raised weapons but didn't fire. "You knew this would happen," Jack said. "That's why you wanted us eliminated." Vexther's scaled face showed no emotion. "The Conclave has maintained order for 10,000 years. We guide evolution. We decide which species rise and which fall." "You play God," Jack corrected. "We prevent chaos." Vexther gestured to a door behind him. "See for yourself what maintains our order." The door opened to reveal a massive chamber. At its center floated a pulsing crystalline structure, connected to thousands of terminals. "The Genesis Chamber," Vexther said. "The true power behind the Conclave. An artificial intelligence, collective older than any living civilization." Jack approached the crystal. He could feel it reaching for his mind. "It has guided us since the beginning," Vexther continued. "It showed us that humans would one day awaken their Forerunner potential and destroy everything we built." Jack touched the crystal. Information flooded his consciousness. The truth hit him like a physical blow. "The Forerunners weren't aliens," he said. "They were humans. From the future." Vexther nodded. "Humans who evolved beyond physical form, who traveled back through time to prevent the Conclave from enslaving all sentient life." Through the crystal, Jack saw everything. The Conclave's millennia of manipulation. Species engineered to serve, others eliminated for showing independence. "The Genesis Chamber has been corrupting evolution across the galaxy," Jack said. "And now it fears what humans will become." Outside, the battle raged. Earth forces were losing ground as Conclave planet killers targeted human colonies. Jack knew what he had to do. He plunged his consciousness deeper into the Genesis Chamber, finding the activation signal buried within its code. "What are you doing?" Vexther demanded. "Finishing what the Forerunner started." Jack broadcast the signal across all frequencies, to every human in the galaxy. The awakening that the Conclave had feared for so long. Across space, millions of humans felt the change begin. The dormant potential in their DNA, activating, minds expanding, abilities awakening. On the Defiance, Allison watched as her crew's eyes began to glow. In the Genesis Chamber, Jack's form began to shift, energy crackling around him as he evolved beyond human limitations. Vexther fell to his knees. "You've doomed us all." Jack looked at him with eyes that now saw past, present, and future simultaneously. "No," he said. "I've freed us all." 1 year later, Jack stood at Earth's rebuilt command center. The view showed human ships exploring the stars, no longer bound by conclave restrictions. His eyes still glowed with the power that had changed everything. Humanity had taken its first steps toward becoming what the conclave had always feared, what they were always meant to be. The Forerunners were no longer just a memory of the future. They were humanity's destiny.